with Nili and Lindsay.
Hey, y'all.
And we've already got the chat hopping over here. Blaze is here.
Hey, Blaze.
Dustin was first, so I gave him a gold star.
You know, Dustin wins often.
Yeah.
High five to Dustin.
Yeah. The early bird gets the gold star around here.
Accurate. Yep.
Stephanie is here. She got
Hello, Stephanie.
alive right at the beginning. So, I mean, I feel like she can also get a gold star.
Yay.
Francesca is here. And Bill is here. Val is here. Natalie is here. And then Jacob has a question that we are going to get to. Oh, Cindy is here.
Yay. Hi, Miss Cindy.
Of course, Cindy is here. It is. So sometimes I get like a description. I guess it's a sticker that someone's putting in.
I think you're right. Or it is an emoji, but some of the emojis.
I can see some emojis. Yeah, I can see some emojis and then some it just tells me what it is, which I find quite hilarious.
Yes, because it is a hand pink waving. I don't know how you wave pink, but
there must be a way.
I'm assuming it means that the hand itself is the color pink.
Right.
But also it's way more fun to misunderstand that one.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know how to pink wave, but we'll try.
Blaze says that she's been here for several hours. She just hasn't posted yet.
We should just always presume that Blaze is somewhere waiting for us.
Yes, she's always waiting.
We love you, Blaze.
Risa is here right at the beginning.
Hey, Risa.
And Sue is here from Michigan. And Lori is here from Pennsylvania. And Rebecca is here from Florida, humid Florida.
Howdy.
Okay. Are you having a heat wave where you're at?
No, actually we're not. I have to look at the temperature. I mean, it's currently 74 degrees. However, the thunderstorms have been upon us, and so my lighting is changing constantly. Like right now, the clouds of gray have started to scoot a little bit, and now we're getting some thinner white clouds. The rain has happened already at least twice that I have been aware of.
Wow.
So no, it was kind of chilly on the front porch this morning. So nope, it's not a heat wave. Are you getting a heat wave?
We are getting a little bit of a heat wave for us. Yesterday's high was 107, which
that's hot for Oregon.
Pretty a lot for us. I didn't hear if it actually got up to that yesterday. It was at least 104. And today's supposed to be like 101, I think.
Wow.
So a couple more days of the hundreds. And so this is the first house we've ever lived in that had air conditioning. So there's that.
Well, in the Pacific Northwest, you don't typically have a tremendous need for it.
Exactly. And then we also have the basement, which always stays nice and cool. So as long as we get our farm stuff done in the morning, we can do pretty good hunkering down and just surviving it.
Right.
So that's what we've been doing.
The hot part of the day is survived in the basement.
Exactly. And it's kind of nice to get out and get all the stuff done in the morning when it's a little bit cooler. Tried to get the dogs out to get a lot of exercise.
For sure.
Stuff. So.
It's wild how Jared and I have had this conversation before numerous times about how those little pieces of actively choosing to be disciplined in your tasks, like they're the silliest things ever. Like start another load of laundry, make sure the bathroom is wiped down, get the people's fed, feed whomever else is around, or like all those little chores that just seem like a huge daunting thing to overcome. When you get all of those things done, it's like you feel that momentum of wanting to do things more.
Yeah.
And it's just like that little bit of discipline is all it takes. And yet the reward itself is feeling good about you. And I'm like, I can accomplish tasks. Like I can suck it up, go through those tasks and that I don't have to do every day. Like I don't have to clean the bathroom every day, but I can get the bathroom clean and get this done and do this and this and this. And I feel so good about me for 3 days straight. I'm just riding the high of discipline, reward. And so
I feel like the mental load of like, I see something over there that I need to do. I see something over here that I need to do. And it just feels like I have so much to do when each of those things are very small and they could probably be done quickly. But when you have like 15 of them surrounding you, it's like a mental load. And so I found, and you can't, I mean, I can't keep them all under control all of the time. So I do find that scheduling them helps take the mental load away, because it's like, yes, I see that that's not done, but it's on the schedule to be done, this afternoon or tomorrow. And so mentally I'm like, it's taken care of, in the future.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like I have 15 things that I need to be doing right now.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's where like a cleaning schedule comes in handy, where it's like, I understand that not everything in my house is perfect, but it's all on the schedule and it will all
be touched at some point.
And I can like let that mental load go.
Yeah. I tend to fail with those, but I can appreciate how others can find tremendous value in their lives because of the scheduling it out thing.
Yeah.
I just struggle. If it's written on the list, it's all done. So why revisit it?
Yeah. And that's why you have to find things that work for you, and not everything works for everybody.
That's right.
Yes.
That's
speaking of feeling accomplished and getting things done, I've been exercising. So there you go. I'm happy with myself about that.
Yay. That is fantastic.
I've still been doing like random workouts from my DVD collection, and I find them so much more enjoyable than anything else. So I'm like,
that's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I did. I listened to an interview on Judy Cho's podcast. I just talked about her podcast last week. Obviously, I listen to it, every week or whatever. And
it's a recurring thing.
Yes. She interviewed the husband and wife team from Pure Physique. They have some gyms, and I think they're based in New York, and they also do online training and stuff. And I really liked all their thoughts about exercise and their approach. They're like the heavy lifting, just 2 to 3 times a week, short 30-minute workouts, keeping it, simple. They're pretty keto carnivore, which that's hard to find in the fitness world, Anyways, I really liked a lot of what they had to say. So I recommend listening to that podcast, just hearing their approach. One thing that they talked about that I was like, yes, we just talked about that on our coffee chat.
Copycatters.
Exactly. No, they talked about exercise snacks.
Where you're just exercising you're not getting a full exercise. You're just having a little smidge.
Yeah. Every once in a while, like setting up little times in your day where you do little short bursts of strength training or whatever it is. And how, it adds up. And that's what I was just talking about last week, where I was like, I don't have time to do a 40-minute workout, but I do have time to do 15 minutes. And they were even talking about like even way smaller than that, like 1 minute of something or other. And how they mentioned how somebody set up some kind of a lifting thing in a spot in their house or in their yard. And so every time they would go to do this one activity, then they'd go and do the to failure of whatever that was. Anyways, I was like, that's great. I like that. And just that it adds up. You don't have to like destroy yourself. Like there's the Biggest Loser effect is still like prominent. And even like Beachbody, they were very much into that. Like you just like Insanity. Do you remember the Insanity program?
I never took it, but I do remember the commercials for it.
Yes, where it's like, if you don't put yourself to where you're almost going to die, you're not going to see the results. And you're like,
you're not puking, cool. You're not doing it right.
Exactly. I think that's kind of on its way out, thankfully, but it still lingers, of course.
Yeah.
And so their common sense approach is just, I thought it was very good.
Their common sense approach is approachable.
Exactly. And very common sense.
Is this them?
That's it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to
And
make
so,
sure I caught the right thing.
yeah, they had a 5-day free, which is kind of funny because they only do 2 to 3 workouts a week. So your 5-day workout included 3 rest days,
Solid.
which is pretty great. Anyways, so I tried that. It was still like it didn't keep my attention. I was pretty bored just because that's how I am. That's my problem. Um, but their approach and their whole philosophy behind it, I really, really liked. And it was
Yeah.
encouraging, like, oh, I've already been thinking that, and I've already been approaching it kind of that way. And it was just like, yes, this makes sense. I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah. I think that's fantastic.
Anyways,
Yay.
yeah, check that out. I'll try to put the link. Maybe I can find it here. I'll put
For
the
sure.
link to Judy Cho's interview with them. That was
Mhm.
really good. Yeah. Okay. Now
Very
you
cool.
talk.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you had an adventure.
I did have
This
adventures.
past.
I had adventures this past week. So, if you
Tell
follow me
us
on
all of your.
Instagram, if you followed me over on the Instagrams, I posted a reel of a bear in the Great Smoky Mountains on our back deck area of this cabin that we had rented. And it commandeered my friend's shoe, and we were not sure what was going to happen. Fortunately, the bear decided that it was less entertaining than he initially thought. We had a lot of bear encounters. Okay,
Oh my gosh.
backwards for a sec. We took a family vacation down to the Great Smoky Mountains, rented a cabin, stayed up in the woods. We went hiking through the national park area. We investigated parts of Pigeon Forge for a little bit, and yeah, we did a driving tour through Cades Cove, if I remember the right name. Anyway, where you're supposed to see like all these bears and all this wildlife, and really enjoy what the Smoky Mountains have to offer. And the hike was good. The drive was good through the foresty areas, and we were really quite dejected. Like, we enjoyed the drive. It was really cool. We saw tons of horses, but we saw 0 bears because they closed off the roads. There were lots of bears on specific roads, and they closed those off to car traffic. But if you were in a bike or if you were walking, they were not close to you. So I had
You could get eaten by the
questions.
bears.
Right. I had
You
questions.
can only go in there if you're not protected by a car.
Right. Yep.
I feel like the bears are making these rules.
I know, right? And I'm also curious, like, how many bears got hit by cars for them to implement this kind of strategery.
Yeah.
But also, like, I would much rather drive down this road in a moving car rather than on a bicycle where I could be mauled. Choices were always made.
Sometimes you wonder about those choices.
Right. And sometimes it's okay not to worry about everything.
Right.
But they were worried about the people in the cars. So
Okay.
there was that. But every single day at this cabin, we had a personal up close bear encounter that was just like wild. So we showed up to the cabin, get the car backed into the driveway space. We unload. We're all like getting settled into the cabin, getting food things put away, doing the typical unpacking strategy. And then all of a sudden, one of the kids hollers out, "There's a bear!" So of course, all of us stampede out. And there's this bear sniffing around my car, and I'm like, well, there's not any food left in there, but okay. That's pretty fun and wild. Stay down there, bear, because the deck and the first floor were up a little higher, and then there was a walkout basement where that was level with the driving parking zone. And so she, we later learned, was down here, and we're up here on the deck just all staring down at the car. And then we're snapping pictures and like, oh my goodness, blah. And then the bear kind of tucks back around the backside of the car, and we're like, all right, we're bored. And then, I don't know, 15 seconds later, she comes back around with 2 cubs that were tiny little cubs of Fluff. And I was like, oh no, we got a mama bear situation on our hands. Like,
Yeah.
it's one thing if it's just a bear, but whenever it's a mama bear plus babies, it's like,
Yeah. Stay away.
oh my goodness. How do we leave? What are we going to do if we ever have to leave? And so the mama and the cubs eventually skittered off and found their way somewhere away from the vehicles. And, you know, it was a fine evening. And then the next day we got back from the big long hike. We saw waterfalls and all that jazz. And we come back, everybody unloads, you know, refilling water bottles, all that jazz. And all of a sudden, my husband and our friend, they were out on the back deck, and my friend, she starts banging on the window like, there's a bear, oh, you can't see that, there's a bear. And it was at the grill. My husband had grilled burgers and bacon on the grill, and the bear was enjoying a meal of bacon drippings from the grill, right there. I mean, like, you know, like 15 feet from where they were, like barely around a corner. And I'm like, oh my stars, we are going to die. The babies, they were also participating in the festivities. They were jumping around on the railing of the deck fencing, and Jared, he was able to scare them off. And, you know, they were not as big and bad when they were on the deck. They were actually more afraid of us than we were of them at that point. And then the next day, like literally every single day, we encountered these bears. The following day, there was a bear that was like up against the railing, not on the inside of it, but on the outside of it. And so Jared scared him off. And he seemed to be the bear, not Jared, seemed to be pretty big and tough when he was on the outside.
Pretty big and tough, so.
Well, on the outside of the fence, the bear felt like he was the boss. And
oh my gosh.
And so that was exciting. But like I said, whenever he was on the deck, terrified of Jared. And then the last full day that we were there, the bears were back. And, you know, at one point, this one bear was on the deck, and we were all inside, of course, just like, this is the entertainment in the cabin. You know, we're just like faces pressed against the glass. What is it doing? What is happening? So this one particular bear was determined to find something to eat. And it, you know, was on the deck. It was, you know, sauntering around, stepping up on its back hind legs, you know, as opposed to its front hind leg.
Redundant.
You know, I know. And he's just kind of looking around and whatnot. And then he comes up to the door of the kitchen space, and he's got his paws on the handle. And we're just like, huh? How many of us does it take to outweigh the bear and outstrong the bear? And of course, at this point in time, I am running around to all the doors and making sure all of them are locked, making sure that they had little like sliders. And I was like, can we get the sliders to line up properly so that it's like one more layer of like resistance? And so it was a wild time, but ultimately, everybody, don't feed the bears. This is not from the area. This is from
don't
Alaska.
feed them bacon.
Definitely
every day.
Yeah. So that was our excitement. That was our fun summer family excursion. So
Rick Wynn said that the bears have been so interrupted in their lives by the tourists trying to get selfies. Several mamas have been. Yeah, that's sad. That's a bummer.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty logical.
Yeah. Let's see. There was another one. Let's see. Risa says she sees bears all the time in New Jersey.
I'd buy that.
Garbage cans all the time. One stole ours a few weeks ago. Wow.
That's aggressive. We went to Chicago when we were living in Wisconsin for a week trip, and we came back and our trash was strewn about the entire yard. And I told Jared at the time, because we had to travel separately, he had a flight or a trip for stuff after me. And so I got home, I see the debris in the yard, I see like all of this mess, and I go around and I notice like there's this patch of fur on a tree, and I'm like, Jared thought it was like, yeah, Jared thought it was like raccoons or something like that, and I'm like, pretty sure it's a bear. Pretty sure. And one of our friends, who also worked with him at the time, came around and looked, and he was like, "Yep, you got yourself a bear. You got yourself a bear." And I'm thinking, well, that makes sense because we live just down the street from a huge herd of cattle. So, of course, the bears are going to be lingering for snacks.
Yes. All right. Well, speaking of wildlife and cattle.
Did you have more encounters?
We have continued to have the cows visit, shall we say. So we've been trying to figure out like whose they are and like what is going on. And we know now where they're coming from. And we think that the owners maybe are getting to where they're not able to take care of all of the things.
Sure.
And either they're not aware that the cows are
Escaping,
exploring the neighborhood all hours of the night these days, or they just can't, they don't have the wherewithal to take care of it. So anyways,
sure.
we're figuring out what to do about it. But Jeff slept on the porch last night because he enjoys sleeping outside.
Yeah.
That's one of his things. He loves sleeping outside. So he'll do that periodically. And he had his slingshot. It's like scaring him away. But yeah, he said they came around at some point in the night. I forget what time, but yeah. I did not know that cows were so nocturnal. Apparently, they'll just meander and eat all night long.
Well, I mean, if we could meander and eat all night long, I mean, I wouldn't be terribly bothered by it.
I guess if I was a vegan, I'd feel like I needed to eat all night long.
That is accurate. That is super accurate.
Yeah. So still enjoying the free manure deposits all over the place, keeping the dogs out of them, all of that stuff.
That's the tricky stuff right there. Like kids, you can keep kind of, you want to smell like cow poo? No? Look down before you take a step. But the dogs
are like, yes, I would love
I want to smell like it. I have to just completely envelop myself in all of the funk.
Yes. Okay, so Jacob had a question up here that I wanted to get
to. Jacob, I hope you are still here.
Yes. And look at his profile picture. Speaking of wildlife, it's like a white wolf or something.
Yeah.
Please help. I tried twice yesterday to create the yeast butter buns. The batter would not whip and rise. I measured everything right. I don't know what I did wrong. Okay. So I get variations of this question often. And a lot of times, like I always have to say, climate has a lot to do with egg whites. I mean, that's just how egg whites are. Doesn't have to be even a keto recipe. When you're making macaroons or angel food cake, like they're inherently tricky and affected by weather. So in the summer, I don't know where you're at, if you're, what your climate is like, but I get a lot of these questions in the summertime. And I'm like, I think it's just because it's hot and humid.
Yeah.
There are some brands of egg white powder that just don't whip up well. So the fact that it just didn't whip up at all, I'd be curious to know what brand of egg white powder you're using, because I've gotten that question before where it's just, there's just a couple brands, and I've never had a brand that didn't work. I've had the ones with sunflower lecithin that are more difficult, that I don't recommend for egg white bread, but I've never used one of the ones that doesn't work. So they, and I've had a couple of people say, have this kind of question, and I write back and say, what brand did you use? And they used, and I forget which one it was, something they got off of Amazon. And if you go down and look at the reviews on Amazon, it says this didn't work for egg white bread, basically. So those are the two probably biggest things, the climate and the brand of egg white bread. So Jacob is still here. He just gave a super chat. Thank you so much. So Jacob, can you tell me what brand of egg white powder you used? That would be very interesting. And also like where you're at and what your climate might be. Oh, and then Reese is giving a good tip also. Did you wipe out your mixer bowl with vinegar before you tried to whip the egg whites? And did you add cream of tartar? Those are both good questions. So yes, any kind of fat in the bowl, or if it wasn't cleaned all the way, or if there's splatters from somewhere else, that can cause it to not be able to whip up. Also, I heard that you should never try to whip it up in a plastic bowl because plastic
Interesting.
is more porous and can hold on to more oils and things like that. Use stainless steel or ceramic, or glass, and that should help. Okay, let's see.
When I first bought the egg white protein powder, I also had struggles with it because I was making sure I had the right brand name. It was called True Nutrition, and it
Okay.
was a white and green bag, like this.
Okay.
And it also has sunflower lecithin. Sometimes I could get it to work and sometimes I couldn't.
Yes.
But it was definitely a struggle to do it well, and consistently with that specific brand.
Okay. He says Jubilee, but I'm thinking he means Judy's because
Okay.
he uses the butter powder. Now, Judy's has two kinds. One has sunflower lecithin and one doesn't. So check your ingredients and see if you have the one with sunflower lecithin or not. If it's the one with sunflower lecithin, I would bet that is the culprit.
Yeah.
Like you said, sometimes the sunflower lecithin one works. You do have to whip it about twice as long as, or sometimes more than the regular. So yeah. Oh, also, Jacob, do you have a stand mixer or a hand mixer? Because that can make a difference as well.
For sure.
Chris is here.
Howdy, Chris. So Stephanie said that she was in Hawaii and the humidity was crazy. She could not get the egg white bread right.
Yeah.
And the more moisture, it does seem to have a more negative impact in my experience as well. The drier it is, it seems to work a little bit better.
Yeah. And you can try adding more cream of tartar.
Mm-hmm.
That can help, but I mean, egg whites have a mind of their own.
Yeah.
And you have to accept that. So my recommendation always, for if you are attempting a recipe and it doesn't whip up, or if when you put in the fat powders or whatever, it deflates, just cook it like pancake batter. Like cook it
so
on.
It's not lost.
So it's not, you don't want to waste it. And they make really good pancakes or like flatbreads. You could still use them as like a sandwich. So don't throw it out. It's so frustrating when someone's like, I tried this 10 times and I had to throw it out. And I was like, no, don't throw it out.
Try a different technique. It's worth 3 minutes to try.
Yeah. And it works great as pancake. I've done several different batches that just, not because the recipe, because all the recipes I make, like they don't fail for me. And that could be because of my climate. But when I'm experimenting,
yes,
something ends up, falling or whatever, then I use it as a pancake batter and it works great.
Yeah. It looks like Jacob did give us a bit more context for his situation there.
Oh, I live in New York. Is that the one you're looking at?
No, it is
this one.
One more recent.
There he is. Okay. KitchenAid stainless steel. That's good. Will adding the yeast make it the most bun-like, trying to create the closest thing? That'll give a good flavor. And so, that's going to make it taste like bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, have you attempted other people's versions of the egg white bread, Jacob? Like Keto Upgrade, she has her yeast risen loaf. Have you considered that one? I would assume that given your attempts at this, that you have explored a variety of options. So if you
On
have
the
not
first
tried,
one, we tried the yeast butter buns. So I'm assuming
Okay.
that means the ones that,
you did.
yeah, but it doesn't sound like he ever got to the point of allowing it to rise because it didn't even whip up.
Check.
So.
Okay. Yeah, the more information, the more we can try to help you troubleshoot on that. And it's very tricky sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. With the caveat that sometimes we can't fix the problem because egg whites are just inherently difficult.
they're irritable, to be
They
honest.
are. Seriously. And that's very frustrating when you're trying to create recipes.
Yep.
To have a sentient ingredient.
Ugh.
Very difficult. And then,
Yeah.
and then also the environment is basically an ingredient.
Yeah.
Well, so you have to take
The
that.
unspoken variable of the
Yeah.
equation.
Yes.
What was it that Chris said? He said that they have joined via Joe's Starlink.
Oh.
Maybe. You need to tell. Okay.
So Joe's Starlink, but they're not in Florida,
No,
right?
they're on a houseboat down in
Right.
Utah.
In Utah. Okay.
Um,
So how did Joe bring Starlink with him? Is that
kept
a
it in
thing?
a suitcase.
Because we have Starlink, and I'm like, do you have to take your satellite dish off of your roof, bring it with you? Did he bring it onto the houseboat?
What we're trying to say, Chris Bear, is we have more. We have more questions than answers. Also, two crazy ketos are here.
Two crazy
Welcome.
Ketos in the house.
If I would have known the bears when we lived in Alaska and when Jared bought this, I would have crossed it out and put AIRS.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I think I actually can. I can just take the white out and just, I don't know how like safe that would last through washing, but we can give it a shot.
Great.
See?
Joe bought an entire suitcase of Starlink, and it's powered by solar panels for the wind. That is
fantastic.
impressive. Okay, and you guys always say that Rachel packs too much. So I would like this to be in the record right here.
Joe may or may not have overpacked by comparison to Rachel.
Maybe.
I feel like we need
it out there.
We need a photo of what the luggage looked like before it was boarded onto the boat. That way we can compare, and we have a Joe pile and we have a Rachel pile, and see who
and then
outpacked
we judge them. Because that's what we do on the internet.
With Joe being in here, did you watch their pork rinds video?
Okay, yes, and I already ordered the.
So did I.
And they're already shipped.
So is mine.
I was like, this is amazing. Yeah,
Well,
the comment I left on the video was, "You guys win the internet for the day. This is incredible."
So Jared watched the video first, and then because I was, working on managing household things, and so then I was in the middle of making jalapeno poppers while watching the video, and I'm like, "Have you seen this?" And he's like, "I told you to go watch it." I'm like, I have so much beef fat that I can do so much. And I'm like, does this mean I need to go invest in a Fry Daddy or some other countertop?
That is
frying basket
of the kitchen appliances that I do not have, which is there aren't many.
Right.
And our kitchen appliances.
Right. So here I am thinking, like, do I get like a smaller like fry basket situation to sit somewhere? I mean, like, I can maybe put it in the basement, or I can find a home for it and then just keep the tallow hanging out in there and cover it up, and then like maybe once every week, depending on how much we fry in it, can I swap it out, and can I clean it again? Because like cleaning tallow is not the most difficult task on the planet. So it's like, could I just like really fully embrace all of the just like making of pork rinds on the fly? Because that is something Jared and I love. And I'm starting to wonder, do they have cow chips like that too? Oh man.
And they two options. And Lori, what we're talking about is the Two Crazy Ketos did a video about how you can make your own pork rinds. You have to buy like a 10-pound bag of pork chips. Did they call them pork chips or pork something else? And you can deep fry them or air fry them and apparently microwave them as well. And you can make your own pork rinds, fresh pork rinds, which are amazing. I've only ever had fresh pork rinds at a restaurant before, but they were incredible. And I'm super excited to be able to make them myself. Oh, pork pellets. That's what it was. And they had two options. They had the extra large ones. And then for a little bit more, you could get, I think they called them like small tender.
I saw ones that were
cracklins.
Cracklins, yeah.
And so the difference between the cracklins and the pork chip pork pellets is that the fat is still connected to the cracklins, not just the skin. Because that's how I don't know. There might be different terms for it, but
right.
There's I forget what brand of pork rinds. They have pork rinds and they have pork cracklins, and the main difference is that the pork cracklins still have this layer of fat on them that kind of like melts in your mouth. And then the pork rinds are just the skin. There you go.
Yeah. When I render down my tallow from our cow, I wind up with cracklins, and it's mostly just like the fat sort of like that doesn't render. So that might stand to reason, even though there's not really skin attached to my actual fat pieces. So I don't know how that works.
Yeah. All right. I need to get their video and put it in the chat here, because some people don't know about this at all, which how can you not know about this? This is big news.
This is massive news. I want to know though, okay, so Jared and I, we went on a trip to San Francisco and kind of made our way up through Northern California. And at one of the places we had dinner, they had beef chicharrones, which
that sounds amazing.
They were humongous. They were amazing. And I wanted to figure out how I could make those for myself, because I've never seen those at a restaurant before. And I was trying to figure out, like, how do we do this? And he's like, do you know how hard it is to make pork rinds, let alone trying to make beef rinds? And I'm like, but I like them. So how difficult should it be? I mean, if the juice is worth the squeeze, I'm willing to make juice. So
right. So cracklin pellets still have some fat on them. That's what Two Crazy Keto do. So I ordered the extra large pork pellets, not the small tender cracklin, because I was pretty sure that's what Joe and Rachel used in their video.
Yep, that's what I ordered as well. Rudolph's 10-pound pork rind pellets, extra large.
Yes. And they in that video I just put the link to, they have a link to where to order it in the description of that. So yeah, and Chris says it's insane how big they puff up to be. A 1-inch long pellet ends up being 5 or 6 inches long. That is so crazy.
I am very excited about this. I mean,
so when I had fresh pork rinds there was a Mexican restaurant here in town, I had them and they crackled.
Yeah.
Like they popped. It's kind of like, it was almost like Rice Krispies, snap, crackle, pop. You can just hear it. It's crazy. Anyways, I'm excited about that.
Yeah. So I knew, like, once Jared explained the process to me, I was like, you know what, maybe the pork rinds are not worth the squeeze. But I don't know of anybody who ever sold beef rinds. And then we did find one company, because, you know, when we find something that we like, we immediately start to search for it on the interwebs. And then, so we found one company that did beef chicharrones, and they stopped selling them. And I'm assuming it's because nobody would buy them, regularly speaking. So I don't know.
Okay. Joe says to make your own pork rinds from the skin is a lot of work and takes a lot of time. You have to boil the skin, remove the fat, and then dehydrate for 6 hours. Then you can deep fry them. So it is a lot of work. He says, and it smells. Yeah.
Chris,
So the pork pellets being available are exciting.
super
And
exciting.
they said that there's another pork rind company that's going to start selling the pork pellets. I don't know which company that is. I have not heard about that
I
yet.
don't know either, but
Yes.
I'm sure we will find out
Maybe it's
sooner rather than later
I'm
based on
I'm
companies
super
wanting to.
impressed with how inexpensive the pork pellets were.
I know.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to buy a lot. You have to buy 10 pounds, but what was it? $5 to $6 a pound? That's
Yeah,
not
it was.
bad considering I mean, imagine a 1 pound bag of pork rinds. Like that would be normal.
I'm trying to think. So we normally buy pork rinds in a big giant tub from
Mhm.
Sam's Club, and I
Mhm.
think it might be a 1 pound container, and
Okay.
it is $5 for them, and all it
That's
is
not bad.
it's just the pork skins and salt. But you got to go watch Joe and Rachel's video if you haven't, because they do explain that you can't be like guaranteed that those were actually fried in the lard
Right.
or in some other reasonably acceptable fat. So I was excited about the fact that even if it did maybe cost a tiny bit more than those pork rinds from Sam's Club that we can get, I could make them fresh and be guaranteed that they were in a pure tallow or in lard if we had enough bacon grease. But we tend to use that pretty well, so saving up enough bacon grease would take an act of self-discipline.
We don't have that around here.
Accurate.
Well, I also wonder, like, so if you get a bag of pork rinds, how much of the weight of the bag is from the fat that it was fried in, and how much of it is from the pork pellet? So I don't know that it's completely 100% one to one. So
That's so valid.
It's hard to know. I feel like ordering the pork pellets was a great choice. That's all.
Absolutely. Also, Two Crazy Ketos and Chris Bear are abandoning us for breakfast.
Breakfast? We're on keto. You can have breakfast any time of the day or night.
We were getting home last night or yesterday evening, and the girls were pestering me. Can we have breakfast for dinner? Can we have breakfast for dinner? Can we have breakfast? What about breakfast for dinner? And I'm like,
wow.
Could you relax about the breakfast for dinner? We can do this. We can do this.
Wow.
We have breakfast often.
Breakfast is pretty great.
It's probably the best, especially if you include steak as part of breakfast.
Well, yeah. 67 pork pellets will give you a large bag of puffed rinds. So crazy. It seems like it defies physics.
Agreed.
Oh,
agreed.
Lori placed an order.
Welcome to the club, Lori.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have a whole massive wave across all of the people who eat no sugar and eat all of the animal fat things that are just gonna all be like, oh, I got my little bag of popped pork rinds here. Here we go.
Yep.
What's on the menu for tonight? Fresh pork rinds. Brilliant.
Seriously. All right. What else do we have to talk about now that Joe and
Chris have stopped commandeering the conversation?
Exactly.
We can actually talk about things.
Yeah.
So there was
commented again. I wanted to make sure we gave him as much help as we have.
Absolutely.
Is the yeast only solely taste instead of texture? So if you're doing the yeast just without the rising step, there's two different types of recipes. The one where you just add the yeast and it's just for flavor and it doesn't really affect the texture. But if you do the option that actually you let your bread proof and rise like you would with a regular bread, that affects the texture.
Yes.
And the taste. So it depends on which recipe you're using, but you can use yeast either just for taste or for taste and texture, depending on what you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was a little bit of conversation. Sorry, I have to like scroll over here on the screen of conversation headed towards KPL. Dustin and the bear, the Chris Bear, we're talking about that.
Yes.
Keto Palooza is coming up. And at the beginning of summertime, we didn't think that it was going to be a possibility. So I kind of set it aside. And now it's looking like it might be a more feasible possibility. So
Awesome.
we're digging deeper into that to see if we can actually make that happen, because Louisville is not that terribly far away from us. It's, a short half-day drive. So we're trying to figure it out.
That would be awesome.
I mean, it's so crazy how you go to one keto event and then all of a sudden you try to refocus your entire yearly schedule of how can I go to another keto event? How can I make it to hang out with these people who understand what I enjoy, what matters to me? How can I find a way to have more community in that capacity? So we are trying to sort that out.
Cool. You can just have me on Zoom the whole weekend.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I would appreciate.
I'll have an extra battery pack for my phone, and I'll just be doing this the whole time. Here, Nili, talk to this person. Here, Nili, talk to this person. Here we go. Yeah,
I did look into going, but for me to get there would have been quite the ordeal. All the flights. I mean, first of all, flights are expensive. Second of all, I would have had to do either completely missed Friday, or done a red eye with a layover, and I mean, on top of that, trying to find a hotel. It wasn't in the cards for me this year. So, but if you know, that would be the next best thing for me.
I know it would have been amazing if the two of us could have been able to re-meet up at the Keto Palooza to hang out. Singit asks a very good question. What is the takeaway from the keto events? Community mostly. And I think that it would, for me, if I had to scale it out, I want to say that it's probably 80% community and 20% either being or having my knowledge base reconfirmed and having my knowledge base expanded would be the other 20%. Being able to see what other things different people have found to be useful in their experience for trying to find health. That would be 80% people's, and then 20% information would be my personal breakdown. But
yeah, I think that's a good breakdown. I agree with that, because you can watch lots of things online.
Yes, you can
watch talks, and it's well, there are some talks where it's brand new information, wow, I've never heard that before, but that's probably a minority. A lot of it is oh yeah, I've heard Dr. Barry's videos. I pretty much know what his talk's gonna say.
For sure.
But it's still fun to be there in person and experience it live. But you can't hear that online. But you can't, be in person with the community.
Yeah. Or with Dr. Boz, I know a lot about what she shares when it comes to her protocols for, high fat and fasting and how to work with your blood sugar and all that mess. But this past year at KetoCon, RIP, it was all about cholesterol. And so that's something that I have not spent a ton of time digging into. I've heard snippets here, snippets there, listening to a variety of different people, but I have not really fully embraced learning as much as I can about cholesterol. So having those conversations about what these experts in the field are digging into as either the next piece or as a companion piece to what we're already doing is also really neat. And I don't think that there's access to Dr. Boz's cholesterol conversation unless you got the digital pass.
I feel like there's some point at which they make them public, but
sure.
It might be a while away.
Yeah.
Because if you go on the KetoCon website, there's like archives from previous years, but I don't think this last year is on there yet. So.
Well, I can't imagine being the editor of or editor team of everything that happened with KetoCon with all of that footage.
Yeah.
That's an experience. It's hard enough for me to edit one video that's like 15 minutes long.
I know. Well, and then Chris Bear does all the stuff like for the low carb cruise. He did all of the behind the scenes tech stuff for that. That was amazing. And those are all online. So there are some conferences that, I mean, they put them out shortly after, like they didn't try to get you to buy a package or anything. It's just, they offered it for free. But of course it's like, can you watch all those videos and be like, I had just as great of an experience as going on the low carb cruise? Like,
arguably,
like you missed the whole cruise part. So it's just two separate sides, and they're both good.
Right.
Okay, so Jacob asked, is there a way I can contact you more easily for advice? I sent a message on Instagram. So unfortunately, no. I got to the point a while back where I just couldn't respond to all of the messages and comments on videos asking questions about the egg white bread. When I do so many videos about egg white bread, and I've given all of my information and all of my tips and tricks and ideas in the videos. I just don't have the time to try to troubleshoot individually with people. I've had people like offer to pay me by the hour to tutor them in egg white bread making. And I'm just like, no, that's just not.
That's beyond the scope of your capacity.
I'm sorry. So unfortunately, no. That's just honestly the best way to get direct answers is what you're doing right now on the lives. Our lives don't get so incredibly crowded that we're unable to, get in depth when people have questions. So honestly, this is the best way to do it. And there is a lot of self-experimentation that just has to be done with these recipes, because it really has to depend on what works in your kitchen and your environment. And that's not something that I have any experience with. So that's what I have to say about that.
At-home baking is really it's like a lab in food chemistry. You can follow the recipe exactly, but you get to be your own chemist, and you wind up having to take into account like just whatever variables pop up.
Yeah.
And you're not always sure what's going to happen.
Exactly. So yeah, Dustin says, most excited about the community aspect, learning something new, and reinforcement of things I already know. Yeah, that's great. It's kind of like why do people go to all these Taylor Swift concerts? They can just turn on Taylor Swift on their iPod.
Right.
But there's something just about being there in person that you just don't get through a speaker.
Sure. The dopamine hit is a little harder whenever you get to go in person.
Yeah, and being around all the other people that are like in it with you and excited with you.
Yeah.
All that. There's just something about it. And honestly, I wish I could go to more. My life is not set up such that I can do that. And so I sometimes have a hard time, like, especially watching the Two Crazy Ketos, because that's what they do all year long. And they're always talking about all these fun things that they're going to do with all the fun people. And I'm just here at home with the kids and the goats.
You have chickens too, okay?
Chickens too. Anyways, so I do have to like kind of temper my disappointment of not being able to do it. And like, there are seasons in life. We've talked about this before. There are seasons in life for different things. And this is not my season to be traveling all over the country to go to all these events. Obviously, it is their season to do that. And I can be happy for them and experience it through them. And I can do that without being too, sad or disappointed. So if you go to Ketopalooza, I'm going to be vicariously living it through you. So
and
share it as you can.
Yeah. And who knows exactly like how things will play out. Like we think we're going to be able to go this year, but we are also at the mercy of Jared's employer and trying to like make sure that things line up properly. And I know, it's so weird. It's like we still want to actually eat food and drink coffee and have electricity, and those things cost monies, and so we
I'm like,
have to continue working.
sounds like a
Even though
scam.
it's a scam.
Get asked if new products get premiered at like the conferences, I'm assuming. And sometimes they do.
I feel like KetoCon was more about devices and more technology that
Yeah.
was being utilized in the quote unquote low carb space.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if things were being premiered there necessarily, but I found out about things like the SciBio ketone monitor.
Right.
Like I had no idea that that was a
A
thing.
thing.
So,
Yeah.
it's a great way to find out about stuff that you just aren't aware of.
Yep.
And I'm sure some things are premiered there that,
For
but
sure.
I
For
remember
sure.
like Redmond when they first came out with their seasonings before they were on the website, they sold them at the different conferences and stuff like that. So you might be able
Mhm.
to get like sneak peeks at different things. Speaking of different things, did you hear that the grapefruit salt element is becoming a permanent flavor?
No, I
Cool.
finally tasted. So we've got one family in our community in our friend group who is more mindful about health and wellness things, and they order Element as well. And I was like, stop it. And so I don't know if it was like they had always been ordering it, or if it was like since like we became friends, like
Uh,
talking through it or not. I don't know how the timeline works. It doesn't matter. They ordered grapefruit, and my friend, she was like, I love it. It's so good. It's like my afternoon treat, and this, that, and the
mhm.
other. And I'm like, that is fantastic. So she gave me and Jared each a packet of grapefruit to try out. And the flavor is very grapefruity,
Mhm.
but it is so stinking sweet.
Oh, you think so? Okay.
To us, it was like, wow, that is way more sweet than we were anticipating.
I wonder if
Um,
they change the levels of sweetness depending on flavor. I know
maybe.
keto chow does not, although some taste sweeter than others depending on what's paired with it.
Sure, sure. Well, and I can always remember like growing up in Texas, you got these massive grapefruits that you could get in the store for like pennies on the dollar. And I remember grapefruit always tasting sweet to me. Like it was tart, but it always tasted sweet to me. Um, compared to like oranges are sweeter, but they didn't taste as sweet to me as like the ruby red grapefruits. So it could just be a me thing.
Maybe
Um,
I mean, grapefruits are not supposed to be as sweet as oranges. And so, maybe if the level of sweetness maybe if the level of sweetness in the element is the same as all the other ones. I did think that like they're like you have that little bit of a bitter grapefruit taste, but if the sweetness level was lower, you'd get more of that, I think, and that would be more true to a grapefruit because there's like a bitter something to it, and the sweet overpowers it, maybe.
Yeah, I also tend to appreciate bitter flavors way more than most people that I am familiar with.
Right,
Like black coffee to me does not taste bitter.
right, right.
Um, Even if it's like the strongest, like worst coffee on the planet, it still does not taste bitter in a bad way to me.
Yeah.
So and Jared, he sees the opposite side. Like he tends to taste bitter flavors much more strongly than I do. So I don't know, but to me it was pretty sweet. Also, when you add salt to a cut grapefruit, it enhances that sweetness. So
Interesting.
I don't know if that's a correlation at all or not. But to me it was much sweeter than the other flavors.
Yeah. Okay, so it's out of stock right now. They sold through their stock for the summer, and then when it comes back in stock in September, then it's supposed to be on the permanent schedule. So that makes me wonder
Wow.
what's coming next summer.
Ooh. Also it makes me fear like what are they getting rid of?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they didn't say they were replacing anything. They just said they were adding it.
Okay, okay. Phew.
Hopefully. Hopefully. Um,
I would
I want a cherry.
cherry would be rad. I just want chocolate mint to be a permanent flavor,
Oh.
not a seasonal flavor.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
That's my one.
Yeah.
That's
I wonder what they're doing for the seasonal winter. If they'll do the same medley.
I mean, to make my heart happy, I would rather just have chocolate mint all by itself.
Yeah.
And then, like, I love regular chocolate.
Yeah.
But just to have chocolate mint all by its little lonesome would just make my heart sing. And I would get a 4-box pack of pure chocolate mint.
Yeah. My favorite is the chocolate caramel. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Oh, here's what we're going to do then. Possibly. Definitely, maybe. I will send you some chocolate caramels.
There you go.
If you will
split it.
In kind return chocolate mint.
There you go. That's what friends are for. Yeah. Perfect Rose cherry is they're like the only cherry option out there.
And I do really like their black cherry flavor.
It is good. Yeah. It is
very sweet and not salty enough, but you mix more salt in and
yes. Their blend of electrolytes is a lot different than Relight and Element. There's a lot less salt. So it's a very different kind of a flavor or different kind of a taste altogether.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think maybe even just like adding the Keto Chow electrolyte drops to the black cherry could be beneficial. But it's so handy when they come in those little bitty sticks and you can just literally keep some like in your glove box or in a bag and just always have access to them.
Dustin is going to do a review of the Liquid IV sugar-free. They just came out with the sugar-free. But I heard from Joe and Rachel that there's some
questionable things,
ingredients. Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to
it'll be interesting to see what you think about it. But there's always talk about like, oh, that is so expensive, and as if like we're comparing two equivalent things.
Right. It's like saying I'm comparing a Honeycrisp apple to a Macintosh apple, but really you're comparing a Honeycrisp apple to a bunch of grapes.
Or comparing a free-range egg to a conventionally raised egg. They're both eggs. They should both, like just if one is cheaper, then it's better.
Yeah.
But even though they're both eggs, there's a difference. And so when it comes to things like the electrolytes, there are probably some really junky quality electrolytes, like different forms of the magnesium, potassium. I don't know if there's different forms of sodium, but like just that are not as absorbable or that your body just kind of flushes through rather than actually utilizes. And so it's really hard to compare like, this is better because it's cheaper, or this is bad because it's expensive. Well, maybe it's expensive because they're sourcing a higher quality ingredient.
Or a more bioavailable ingredient.
Exactly. And it's not like dirt cheap. And so there are a lot of companies that just will go with the cheapest option because their bottom line is their bottom line and not, what it's doing for the consumer product necessarily. That's just how that company is maybe run.
And I can understand, like, if you are trying to operate a business, you have to balance delicately, like your cost of goods versus your profits, versus like the value of your customer. Like, it's not an easy equation to solve. So, and I'm sure like some are like, I am only going to care about my profits. I'm only going to care about my bottom line. And I'm sure others are a little bit more willing to be mindful of like, okay, maybe I can't do like everything perfectly, but how can I do it to the degree that I try not to do maximum harm?
You have a,
I know. I have a little cat of corn back there. Hang on, baby.
We have been on here for a little over an hour now.
Yeah. Did you see her? She just keeps scooting over. Let's see if she moves to that side.
Oh, stinker.
You gonna do it? No?
No.
Ah.
So that's this was 24 servings cost $28. That's not a whole lot cheaper than Element. Oh dear. Wow.
I am broken.
Oh, they're so funny. All right, Blaze is reminding everyone to hit the like button and spread the love. We appreciate that so much.
We do, Blaze. You keep us on track so well.
Yes. Oh, do you know, is the collagen sale still going on? I
Yeah, so the
that one.
perfect keto, I just talked about this in a video that I'm trying to get rendered and uploaded. Perfect keto is having a sale. Do you have your link there, Nili? Oh my stars, child. So there is a collagen BOGO sale happening. They've gone through and done a rebranding, or not rebranding, but a repackaging, an update on their packaging for the collagen, which is kind of fun. Or I personally really liked the kind of greenish aqua color they had going on, but they've updated it, brought it into a little bit more of the current aesthetic, and they are doing a sale for buy one, get one half off.
Yeah.
And it's only until Friday. So I know Nili has a link.
I just put that in there. So if you follow that link, you don't need a coupon code, right? Yeah, no code. You just add the collagen items to your cart, and it is good on keto collagen, and that includes some MCT oil powder in it, by the way. The Beauty Plus Sleep, the Barista Blend, and the Super Reds. Any of those you could get
that have collagen in them.
Half off. Yep.
Also, I just want y'all to know, the child has emerged. Oh dear. Hang on. No, you need to wait, ma'am. So I went through my link today to go and order some for me, because I am down to my last strawberry canister, which I did not realize. And I almost had my heart skip a beat. Like, I love my strawberry collagen. So I went through to place another order, and sometimes coupon code stacking works.
Yes.
Sometimes it doesn't. It did not work for me to do a coupon stack.
It seems like it's working less and less these days. So maybe we shouldn't have said anything about it.
Maybe not.
Oops.
Oh well.
You ruin everything.
You are welcome to stop now.
Uh-oh. You got some mama eyes.
No. Nope.
All right. We should hop off of here because we do have children, obviously.
Invasive tiny humans.
Sometimes. Oh, so I think it was Lori mentioned earlier that they had concrete poured and that they got some rain on it.
Oh,
I was going to say, my husband is out building forms right now to get concrete poured for the garage loading dock. That's what it is. He have a loading dock so he can pull up and anyways,
make it easier.
What we're doing, although it's covered. So thankfully, if we did have rain, which I don't think we will, but if we did, we would be okay. But anyways, I thought that was funny. That is literally what he is outside doing right now. So,
well, that sounds like fun.
Yes. All right.
I think we've met the end of the road.
I didn't know if you were like looking at your child over there.
No.
Oh, okay.
I can see her in my peripherals right there.
Oh my goodness.
But
okay. All right. Thank you everyone for joining us. We should be back next week, same place, same time. And
that's the intention. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for some reason it didn't work to dual cast on Lindsay's channel this week, but usually it does. So you can watch either place or just pull both of them up and at the same time, that always works as well. But anyways, we will see you when we see you.
Sounds great. Bye, y'all.